So George made a motion to approve the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? All right. So all those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. General public comment. Is there anyone here tonight who wishes to speak?
We have right behind you.
Well, they're actually.
They're on the agenda.
Oh, okay, oh, perfect, okay, all right.
Please.
Oh, there's- On the agenda, other than an agenda, all right.
Yep. Okay.
Oh,
So-
there we go.
No public comment. All right. So we will move on to our special student summer presentation.
And I had asked Callie, who's a fifth grader, and Ms. Carangio, who is actually our GRCSU Teacher of the Year, to come and talk because they both worked the summer school programs. And Shannon Moriarty put together a video that we're going to see, but both Callie and Ms. Carangio wanted to talk first.
Would you like us to stand so people?
That
on
would
the
be
screen can see us
wonderful.
as well? Okay.
Absolutely.
So can you see her now? Screen here? Are you sure? Okay.
Thank you.
That way you're okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the time, taking the time today to share our summer school experience with you. The summer school program is a place that provides students with a chance for social development and personal growth, as well as fun and engaging hands-on learning activities to support knowledge gained in the previous school year. This can help students' academic confidence moving into the next school year as well, which I think we all know is really important. And the flexibility of the summer program compared to a regular academic school year provides us with the chance to explore projects further. Most noticeably, I know in my summer school program class, our bottle rockets, where we were able to take time over several days to plan, develop, test. And when our test didn't go according to plan, take it back to the drawing board, redesign and test again, which was fun, I think, right? And the skills gained from those opportunities provide valuable enrichment that carries over throughout the school year. The balance of both academic and enrichment time in that casual environment while providing engaging lessons allows students to have fun while learning, and we hope fosters an environment of enjoyment around learning new things. We wouldn't have been able to share this amazing experience with such a great group of students without the hard work of all of the summer school staff. And our summer school program allows us to provide that hands-on, educational, engaging, and fun experience with our students. And we just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to do that and share a little bit about that summer program with you today. And we have a student to share a little bit about her experience with the summer program.
Hi, my name is Callie. I'm a fifth grader at Wells Village School. I went to the summer school program this year. I loved it because we did tons of fun activities. Not only did we refresh our minds, but we also did fun activities like the bowling alley and played with water. We were able to see friends that I probably wouldn't have seen otherwise. We were able to see other teachers. This program is important to our community because families can still work and they know their children are in a safe place. Thank you to everyone who makes this program possible. Please enjoy the video that shows some of what we were able to enjoy. Thank you.
Oh, sorry guys.
Shannon.
Can you share your screen instead?
I would, yes. Okay, you know what? Let me just see if we get the audio. Sorry, I'm full screen.
fun activities that we did.
What do you like most about summer school?
Dodgeball and
Water slide looks a lot of fun.
Yeah. You should have tested it first.
Well,
We'll invite you next year.
Thanks.
Yeah.
do we own that or do we rent that?
It was rented,
Okay.
but it was funny because Shannon ended up coming that day. It was probably the favorite thing that went there.
I didn't argue at all. I even went down the slides.
She did.
I'm not saying, I didn't see too many people, you look kid-sized. I didn't see too many adults doing that, and I was
I
on
did
one
get
about
one-
weeks
I did
ago
get-
and had
I
a hell of
saw.
a time with it.
And so, Sue, you will be invited next summer as well then, to lead the adult parade.
Well,
I think that was an adult thing that I was actually attending is why I was down.
yep. Thank you, Carol, and
Thank you for letting them do that as
Ms.
well.
Grangio and Callie for coming, and Shannon for the video. It was a great presentation, and the kids really looked like they were enjoying themselves. And I know every time I drove by, I was a little jealous.
I know.
All right. So we'll move on to consent agenda. Everyone should have received the minutes from August 3rd this afternoon, I think, or yesterday. I'm not sure exactly when they went out, but so the minutes I know they're kind of incomplete. I didn't have all the public in attendance, so I don't know if anyone else had a list of the public that was in attendance. If not, we can hold off on approving these until next meeting. And if there's any other, because the unofficial minutes are up, they are posted. So did anyone have any changes to the minutes? Okay.
Erica has the public if you need. I can give you the public right now if you'd like.
That'd be good. We can just add it and we can just approve the minutes.
Okay.
All right.
We have Al Grigorich, and you can just write it down, I can check spelling later. We had Kim, excuse me, Kim Carr, Dale Carr, Heather Thomas, Cindy Cassidy, Contessa Perry, Joy Ray, Mackenzie, Katie Crowley, and Jenny Colty.
Are you sure that was for the August 3rd meeting?
That's what I had from Shauna, but I can double check that. So
I think Carol Cutler was
Yeah.
part of that meeting as well.
So the
I'm just looking at the list that Shauna had sent back to me, so I can take a look at that. Okay.
because I had it as Carol Cutler, Heather Thomas, and Laura Derringer, and that was it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know Laura was there.
Because Kim and Dale were the meeting before,
Okay.
or two meetings before. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yep.
So you
Eric, I'll double check that and get that out emailed to you. Okay.
okay.
About
Alright.
that, so I'll email Shauna.
All right.
I
All
don't have
right.
my notes in front of me.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
I didn't even write down the public present. All right, no, we'll bring these back next month. No sense in wasting a bunch of time on it. All right, warrants. We have warrant 244 and 247. Is there a motion to approve those warrants?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Matt to approve the warrants. Are there any questions on the warrants?
Yeah, I got a couple. I got a late fee. What do you say?
Okay.
And we have a lawn care for wells. I think someone takes care of the lawn and wells. Why don't the custodians do that? They always did before.
I'm not sure, I just came into it and asked why it was
I think they've been doing it for quite a little while.
the outside.
Yeah, I think so.
It was my understanding that there wasn't enough time. I don't know if that, and then the school doesn't have a lawnmower.
And I'll check with that with Scott and then get back to you. I will.
Okay. I think someone raised it. I can't see.
It was me. I was
Okay.
just saying, I think it's Brian Bishop that does the lawn. I know he did it before, and I think he's still doing it, but I'm not positive.
Amanda, could you say that again, please? We're
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying, I think it's Brian Bishop that does the lawn at Wells. I know he did it in the past, and I hadn't heard that it changed, but I'm not positive on that.
Yes, that is who it is.
yeah, Carol confirmed that's correct, Amanda.
Okay.
Can everyone hear me still?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so Matt made a motion to approve the warrants. All those in favor of approving the warrants, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand online.
Aye.
Tara,
Aye.
any opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carried unanimous. Superintendent's report.
Thanks, Eric. So, can everyone hear me? Cara, can you hear me? Amanda?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. So just a few items to kind of go through here. Obviously we had the fall opening. I just want to say thank you to Rick, Carol, to the front office staff, custodians for all their hard work over the summer, getting everything ready to go. Buildings look great. I was in both Wells and Middletown last week, and it was great seeing all the kids back in and seeing the teachers. It was also nice for the first time in a long time to see everyone's smiling faces. It's been a long time coming. So I just want to say thank you to all the individuals who spent a lot of time over the summer just doing all their work. I also, you saw the summer programming, just want to thank the staff that volunteered to do the enrichment program and the day camp summer program for our students. It said it was, and you see for the kids' smiling faces, it was much appreciated. So just want to say thank you to everyone there. A couple items here. I do want to just talk a little bit about some work that Carol and Rick will be doing this year with both myself and Lisa Madison. This is work around the University of Washington, or the Center for Ed Leadership. It's called the Instructional Leadership Program. And it's a year-long program that we actually do be working with Windsor Central as well as part of our cohort. But the four of us will be attending both virtual and in-person meetings. We'll also be doing some collaborative walkthroughs both here in our Middletown and Wells, as well as some other facilities as well. So the purpose of this is to really to improve. Okay, let me. All right, can you? All right, you're good. Okay. All right, I'll switch over back to the other mic. Thank you. So the purpose is really to focus more on the growth of our administrators, myself, Lisa, after being instructional leaders, providing more constructive feedback as we look at continuing to improve the quality of instruction in our classroom. So it really is, it's not about the teachers, it's more about working with Carol and Rick in terms of alignment of the feedback that they provide and the quality of the evaluation process. And it's something which is going to be kind of aligning Carol and Rick with work that the other administrators in the SU undertook last year in this program. So it'll be, there's a lot of work we're doing also at our MNPLC. So Carol and Rick will be working with the administrators from both Corey Valley as well as Rutland Town. So it's a pretty good program. We'll keep you updated on that. As Carol did mention, as part of our tradition each year, we're kind of get back to that at our back to school in service. We do recognize two GRCSU educators as outstanding teachers of the year. And these individuals will be recognized later this spring, typically it's in March, at University of Vermont. It's a nice, hopefully this year they'll do it in person. The past couple of years it had been virtual, but it is a nice ceremony. It's a nice recognition. And as we did say, we do have Wells Village Schools. Raylene Carangio has been recognized as one of our outstanding educators in the GRCSU. And I just want to take a quick moment just to read what was written about Raylene. Raylene is being recognized as Teacher of the Year for a consistent approach towards student engagement and learning. Raylene is innovative and creative when developing lessons and tasks for students, incorporating accessible pathways for students to showcase their learning. She has a strong ability to build trust and community within her classroom throughout the school. Raylene is an excellent colleague and brings fresh ideas to better experiences for the students at Wells Village School. Her compassion for students and high expectations have been instrumental in supporting Wells Village School over the last several years. I just want to publicly congratulate Raylene on a well-deserved honor. So, two more items, just the Middletown and Wells, and Rick and Carol talked about this in their principal reports, have scheduled their back-to-school nights. Middletown's will be September 21st, 5:30 and 7 o'clock p.m., and Wells will be September 19th, 5:30 7 p.m. And just an update on the Helen Henderson Education Trust Fund Scholarship. I know that in the past couple of years, things kind of with COVID were kind of a bit awry, but we're back on schedule. So the congratulatory letters, notification of the fund, and applications were actually put in the mail today and been sent out to all the class of high school graduating class of 2022 for Middletown Springs families. So be on the lookout for that. And then the rest is just about the fortune graduate, which we'll talk a little bit later. So just for your reference. Good. Any questions?
Principals reports.
I actually was just going to update that our enrollment as of today is 83. We've gained 3 more students. So when school let out in June, we had 76, and as of today, we are at 83, which was kind of exciting. And just one other thing that happened this summer, we had a former teacher from the 40s and 50s whose family donated money to the discretionary fund, my discretionary fund, in honor of this gentleman, and I didn't write his name down, but Ted something, and we're going to donate a book in his name in the library with part of the funds also. And there's a local lake group that gets together and they have a tip jar for when they get together, and they pick different organizations to donate money to, and they had their final meet and chose Wells Village School, and she brought me a check for $257. So kind of exciting that people in the community think that way, and I just thought it was a wonderful thing. Besides that,
Any questions?
Good evening. I'd like to thank the parents, staff, family for a wonderful community breakfast. As a tradition, we've had an opening day breakfast. It was well turned out by parents, community members. It was just good to have everybody back here again. We did have breakfast outside. You can see the tents out there, but the weather held off and it was a great day. I would like to thank everybody for a wonderful 5 days of school. It's been an excellent start to the school year. Kids are glad to be back, and I thank everybody for making it a wonderful time. We are having our open house the 21st for all parents. In the past, we've done a potluck dinner. More information will be coming, but it's just a great way of getting everyone back and mingling, and the joy of kids going through the school and visiting the old classrooms and their former teachers. So it's a great thing. The month of August, boy, I was just getting ready for the start of the new school year. A lot of time was spent on schedules, developing the academic schedule to meet the new academic expectations of a certain amount of time for reading and math, which is very exciting. Been working on conversations about the new, what's called MTSS, which is for a multi-tier system of support. It's a way of meeting the needs of the students and the new programs that we have coming on. So I think it's a very exciting time. No doubt a little nervous too of trying to how to figure it all in, but I appreciate the staff working together and moving the needle ahead. Some of the summer work was with the BEST Institute, which is involves PBIS, which positive behavior interventions and supports. One of the things we're working on is restorative practices, which involves developing the skills of students to work out through difficulties and having conversations. And I think it's one of the things we want students to leave school, Milltown Springs, is to be able to have these conversations and work out our differences. One of the big things we're moving ahead with is our local food purchases through the Farm to School Grant Committee. We have a number of local farms that are very much interested in collaborating with us. Through the grant, we also have purchased cooking carts, which are basically big totes that we can move up and down from the classrooms, but it has all the cooking things, all mini stoves, blenders, so we can cook in the classroom, which is a great way of introducing students to different local foods and the science aspects to it, collaboration. So it's a great activity. And as Chris mentioned, I'm looking forward, both Carol and I are looking forward to the educational leadership, which will be starting next week, and bring it back to improve the school.
Okay. Any questions? All right, thank you both. Glad to hear school's off to a great start. All right, we'll move on to finance. Hello.
So the first one is in the packet was just my business manager report from last month, which just gave the year-end balance. I believe I had completed that, I think, the day before the meeting, and my report may not have made the actual packet, but I did talk about it at the last board meeting. So it's just kind of an FYI for those people that missed it or wanted something just for their records. Just to reiterate, we did end the year with a surplus, approximately $182,000, and the report just goes into more details about it. Like I said, we did talk about this last month, so I just wanted you to have this for your records.
Okay.
Any questions on that before we move on?
Louis, it's a little bit hard to hear you. I don't know if you maybe move the mic a little bit closer. Or...
Okay. Yeah.
Phones, that might work a little better. Is that better?
Much better.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. So do you need me to repeat anything, or are we good?
Yeah, maybe just start again, Louis. Sorry about that.
Okay, sorry, but no problem. So the first thing was just my business manager report, which went over the year-end balance. I did report on this last month, but I believe that I had finished this the day of the meeting because the meeting was so early in the month, or it may have been the night before. So I don't believe it made the packet, but I did talk about it at the last meeting. We had a surplus of $182,000. So I just included this again for this month, just so that you had it for your records. For those of you who may either miss the meeting or just wanted the paper copy. The next item is credit card increase. So currently we have a credit card through our bank, M&T, which was People's, is now M&T. Each administrator has a credit card, and I have a copy as well. We currently have a credit card limit of $6,000 for the district. There's been several occasions where we have not had enough limit to meet our needs. It's not constantly throughout the year, but it's usually either one of the administrators is going on a class trip, or there was a large purchase that was made. And so there's been times where we could have used a higher limit. So I am recommending that we increase our credit card limit from $6,000 to $15,000 for the district. That is something that I manage. What I do is I give each administrator a certain limit, and they're able to, based on the needs at the time, they're able to request an increase, a temporary increase based on whether there's a class trip or a purchase that needs to be made. And I can go in and I can give them a temporary credit limit increase that'll last a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever, however long they need it. And so I manage it to meet the needs of the schools, but it allows us to have a little bit more flexibility with that increase of limit.
Okay, so you can increase it as needed, basically.
Yes, I have a with People's Bank, we had a portal which I can go in and I can add users, take users away, and increase and decrease limits. Some of you may know People's was bought by M&T. We have not been able to get onto that portal yet. The conversion just occurred this week, but we've been told we will have the same capability.
Okay. All right. So basically, you're looking for action from the board to increase the limit to 15,000.
Yes.
And so this is this multiple different credit cards, or?
So there's 3 credit cards. Carol has one, Rick has one, and then I have one for Wells Springs. The one that I have stays in the safe. I don't use it. I have a GRCSU one that I use, but I do keep it in the safe in case there is something where either a Wellspring purchase needs to be made at the SU, or there's an emergency type purchase where either something that we're purchasing or somebody has lost their credit card. There is an extra copy in the safe at the supervisory unit.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to increase the credit line to 15,000.
All right. Motion by Cara to increase the limit to 15,000. Is there any other discussion? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Sue, I didn't hear it. Did you say aye?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion carries unanimous. But you can say no if you want.
I just see money flying more. But, yeah, okay.
All right. All right. So that's all you have for us tonight, right, Lewis?
So the last item, which isn't on the agenda, but it should be a rolling item, is just budget. So last month we had a preliminary discussions about the budget. Since then, I've been working on putting together the first drafts. I have the template 90% complete. Staffing is in, just working on waiting for some numbers. I have a meeting. I will be meeting with the administrators over the next couple of weeks, and we'll be presenting the first draft of that budget at the next board meeting. So the October board meeting. So at that time, you'll get a paper copy of the budget. It's a month earlier than the normal process, as we talked about. We went over the timeline at the last meeting. I didn't know if the board wanted to have a short discussion tonight and just check in with our administrators. Last month, Chris and I did most of the talking about budget. This month, according to the timeline, I just had maybe a little bit of time for us to check in with the administrators to see if they had any feedback that they would like to add about what the needs are in their building, and what type of items based on their needs you'd like to see maybe put into that first draft, and how that will impact the budget.
So for Middletown, just, this is, my ultimate goal is to keep it within a reasonable budget for the community and recognizing where we are, but there is a social emotional need. I know Wells is very fortunate to have a full-time counselor. Something for us to think about as we go through the budget process, but where can we adjust things to make that happen? But
I'd rather do it now than do it after the budget's been discussed and voted on. Because we did add some employees after the budget was passed. If you're gonna add them now, not later.
Right.
That really irritates me because the people should have the right to know how many people work in there and pay for them. So if there's gonna be people added, I'd rather see it done now than after the budget's passed. Because that just irritates people. So
So you're thinking a full-time counselor? And right now we have a
we have a 0.5.
0.5.
I want to just stress, or reiterate, just think about what's important. It's a deeper conversation, but I recognize that, part of my job is to create a budget that's meets the needs, but also within limits. So. Carol, do you have anything? Or?
No, I think in just looking at it, I'm kind of looking forward to the conversation with Lewis about it, just looking at what he's kind of put forward. Our staffing to me seems like it's where it needs to be. And we are fortunate that we have a full-time, interventionist, full-time counselor. I think those positions are definitely needed right now.
Anyone else have any other thoughts on the agenda or budget?
Just when do we lose ESSER funds? Like, is this the last school year, or when do those fade away?
ESSER funds will be here for this school year and next school year.
So they could theoretically be part of the budget we're currently building, or no?
So one of the things I think we need to start doing is start to wean ourselves off of ESSER funds, particularly as we're looking at if we have positions that are currently being funded. I think we look at a budget, what that would look like without being funded locally, just so I think the public could have a better understanding of what they may look like. Because like I said, it does give a false impression that we have a lower budget than we really have if we are funding, say, 1.5 positions with ESSER or one position with us or so. I think as we look at the budget, my recommendation, I think Lewis and I would work on that, would be all positions would be fully funded. We would not be looking at funding any positions through ESSER at this time, just to see what that would look like, just so we can prepare ourselves for that, so that we don't have hit that financial cliff. And I know that around staffing, when Lewis and I meet with Rick and Carol, we will be just closely reviewing staffing and looking to make sure that we are maximizing all of our resources and looking at that as well. So we'll have some discussions that we may have to have in executive sessions and things along those lines moving forward.
I did have a question, like for what the surplus, is that something we're going to talk about in the first draft next month?
Yes, I think we'll begin the discussions next month when we look at the budget. The surplus is in there as a revenue right now, the way I have it built, and then once we look at what our expenses and what our education spending is, we can determine whether we want to keep that all in as revenue or move some of it to a separate item on the ballot to move into a reserve fund, and how that will impact education spending.
Okay.
You can definitely start those discussions now if you have a feeling and something for the board to consider. And definitely when we look at the first draft next month, you'll see how that will impact education spending.
Yeah, look, I was looking at the timeline and my thought was a lot of that information will be presented in the first draft. So.
It's hard to really make decisions when you're not seeing the full picture. So I think once you have that first draft in front of you, you can see what our revenues are and what our expenses are, and how, if you take 50,000 from that surplus to put it somewhere else, how that will affect both percentage wise and dollar wise on that tax rate.
Okay. All right, if nobody has anything else, that's all you have for us, Lewis?
That's all I have.
Amanda?
Sorry, I just had a question back on increasing the credit card. That increase isn't necessarily to say that they will be purchasing that full 15,000. That's to say they need 7 or 8. It's available because they only had 6 before. Is that correct? Did I understand that correctly?
Correct. It's a revolving credit line, just like a personal credit card. It's available for when we need it. There are a few times throughout the year when there's higher need than others, where a lot of purchases are being made all at the same time, and we're waiting for payments to post to the credit card. So we need that increase in limit. But it's not to say we're going to be using it all at once.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And Lewis, we probably should add that all the purchases are within the budget. We're not purchasing outside of our budget with this credit card. So just want to add that, so there's that concern sometimes.
Correct.
All right.
I think Carol's working in New York.
Okay. Thank you, Lewis.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to personnel. Contract recommendations. Whoa.
So just to clarify, for like after school program, the number of students, those staff can't work every night, so these are people that can fill in. So it's not like everyone's working at the same time. So at least for us, I'm sure.
No, it's the same exact for us.
Yeah.
And a couple of the people that are on the Wells list are actually substitutes. They just have to have a contract with it.
Okay. And yeah, I think a lot of this too is usually at the beginning of the school year.
Yes.
Yeah, like athletic director, student council advisor, medical designee stuff. That's stuff that
That's always been there.
after the beginning of the school year. So yeah, all extracurricular. Oh,
Well, I feel very fortunate that we have after-school staff, but we're looking for more. So, we'd like to help out with the program.
okay. So, so a motion would be in order to approve the extracurricular contract recommendations as presented.
I had a question. Is
Uh-huh.
Nicole L'Esperance, she's listed twice, one as a coordinator and one as assistant. Is that really 2 jobs that she's doing? Or was it a mistake? I mean, it's entirely possible it's 2 jobs. I just wanted to make sure.
No,
Like-
she does. I'm sorry, Kara. She does certain aspects of the program by doing the coordination of the schedules, the services, the ordering. It's not as many hours, and then she actually works as a program assistant. She puts in hours at the program,
Okay.
so
I'll
it's
make the
outside
motion.
of
Yeah.
hours.
Yep. Okay. I'll make the motion to approve it as presented. Then, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Cara. Amanda? Oh,
Sorry, the only thing I was going to say is at the bottom where it says Amanda William, I think it's Amanda Williams, if we should update that.
William, is there 3 L's there or?
No, I think there's an S on it. I think it's Amanda Williams.
Yes. Thank you for picking that up. So,
No problem.
all right. If there's no other questions. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries unanimous. Resignations, we just have one resignation. Natalie Hood. So is there a motion to accept resignation with regret?
I'll make the motion to accept her resignation with regret.
Motion made by Cara. All those in favor of accepting her resignation, say aye.
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 All right, thank you, Amanda. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to unfinished business goals from our retreat. Did I not take it in my packet?
Eric, I don't see our goals. Are they in a separate email?
I had them in my packet, but I'm not quite certain.
This is.
Oh, no, this is
So that,
Community engagement.
okay, sorry.
something else. We're looking for the,
There's a recommended operating protocol.
no,
There are the ones, so-
these are the superintendent goals that we talked about at the retreat.
Well, superintendent goals, I mean, that's one, looking at the SU bylaws, I mean, that's something which is, I would draft my goals with the executive committee as per the bylaw. So, once we have the GRCSU retreat to establish some SU goals, I'll then work with the executive committee to draft goals and to be shared with all the districts, which will kind of encompass that. So I know, Eric, you talked about some of the board goals that have been set in the past and whether we wanted to continue moving forward with that. So
Yeah, so, when we talked about, at the retreat that, the board pretty much, majority-wise, decided that to have you draft goals for Wellsprings, and
so that's, but I would say that's not my job. My job should not be to draft board goals. The board should be drafting their goals. My goals are drafted as part, like I said, go back to the bylaws. My goals are drafted with the executive committee as part of the SU. So, I mean, that said, we spent a lot of time, not this summer, past summer, drafting board goals. I think, every other board has spent time discussing and drafting board goals, but it should not be my job as superintendent to draft the board goals for you. So I think the board needs to establish and draft the set goals.
Amanda?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I misunderstood. I thought that we were just asking Chris, like what he was drafting for his goals as superintendent, and then we were approving them. So I think I misunderstood that.
So you're right. So my goals will be reflective of around the student preparedness. We look at community engagement, but my goals are SU-based goals that I'll work with the executive committee, because I have to make sure my goals are reflective of SU. So the two focus areas will be reflected in those goals. But once I meet with the executive committee after the board retreat to discuss it, then I will have board goals to present to the SU board, which will then be shared with the local boards.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Right. And I think this went hand in hand with like once Chris came to us with that, then we would use those to do our assessment was how I understood it. But maybe I don't know. That's what I thought.
Amanda, I agree with you. I think that's what we were looking for, not for Chris to write goals for us.
Right. I felt like the purpose of his goals coming to us was for us to use when we assessed Chris. So we kind of had something to go on, like these are his goals, this is what we've accomplished, this is what we think. And then our board goals together were kind of what we discussed with like involving the community and how are we going to do that. And so we made this community engagement committee and we talked about the financial piece, and I felt like those were our board goals, but Chris's goals were separate.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, correct. But as we were talking and developing, going through our process, as opposed to the board developing the goals, Chris was supposed to come back with recommendations for goals. I don't know. Maybe I interpreted that wrong.
I'm thinking that I thought our goals were student readiness, financial responsibility, and community engagement. And his job was how are we going to get there?
So I want to read it. I'm an SU superintendent, so we look at the bylaws, and so as we meet, so that's the Wells focus. I also have to take a look at the Rutland Town's focus as well as Corey Valley's focus. I have to develop SU-based goals that meet all those areas. I have not yet had an opportunity to meet with the executive committee to discuss the SU has not yet had their board retreat. So after the 28th, once I see what the SU goals, I can then draft and bring back. But I won't be having a separate set of goals for Wells Springs, one for Rutland Town, one for Corey Valley, and one for Ira. I have an SU set of goals. So which you will see, aspects of student preparedness, financial, fiscal responsibility, and community engagement will be embedded within those SU-based goals.
Right.
So I mean, as I said, the GRCSU board retreat is on the 28th. And then at that time, I'll then, work through, but like I said, look at the, as we review the bylaws, I then will share my goals with the executive committee, then share out with, everyone. But then once that's been approved, then I share out with the local district here the goals and what this looks like. And there will be specific aspects of SU based, but also some may be more like focus on Wells Springs or Rutland Town or Corey Valley. It's on the work.
Okay, we'll move on then to board operating protocols. So we saw this at the retreat as well. So this came to the supervisory union board as well, and so everyone has already seen this. So I guess the supervisory union board is interested in doing a kind of a unified approach to board operating protocols. And so all the member districts should be reviewing this and receiving input. And then the idea is to adopt in October. So I guess the purpose of tonight is to kind of review these and see if we want to make changes before adopting them or additions. And, you know, I'll say that the only thing this doesn't necessarily really cover and would pertain to our board is area of online participation. So I think it might be good to add expectations for online board member participation, since I think it's probably most likely here to stay. Any thoughts?
So Eric, just as a principal, I like number 2. I say this, we work very hard for working through actions and those negative interactions, and work very hard within the school. I think boards having that same working together collaboration, I think it's very important for modeling to students. So I think that's really important.
Oh, absolutely, I agree.
And I say that in a general, but I think having that on as a recommendation protocol for all boards is really important.
Eric, I think adding into number 7 might be where you could add in something about online or hybrid participation. I mean, it doesn't necessarily relate to long board meetings, but if we're talking about efficiencies,
Number
I
7.
don't know what you would want to add, but
Yeah, I was just thinking, in terms of online participation, I had a lot of thoughts, and my first thought would be that the online expectation would be the same as if you're in person. First of all, and maybe something along the lines of like when you're speaking and voting, have your camera on. Stuff like that. At least for board members. That was my thought for online participation.
could it be something about communication about if you are going to attend remotely, communicating the parameters of your engagement, because it's realistically not everybody has enough bandwidth in their homes to do a video call at times. And so maybe the answer is, if you're going to be participating remotely but not be on camera, tell the people at the beginning of the meeting so that you can establish that expectation for yourself. I don't know.
That's a good point. Some people, if they're attending from a computer, don't have a webcam. Maybe they just don't have a webcam and don't want to use their phone, or I don't know. There could be a lot of possibility. That's a good point.
Eric, did you say the SU is also going to adopt this
Yes.
in some form? Should we hold off and see what they agree on to add in that regard? So we're not creating two different versions?
No. So that the idea is that all the member districts will doing the same thing we're doing tonight.
So they're gonna take,
And
okay,
then at
understood.
the SU meeting the end of this month, if basically there's no changes or additions, then it would go out for adoption of the boards in October.
Okay, understood.
So I mean, it could take a couple of months to if there's a bunch of changes and stuff like that. Because basically, if there are suggestions to changes, when we see it again in October, those would be in it, and the board or boards can say yes or no. So hopefully we end up with a unified approach. That's the whole point. So all right. So yeah. So the only thing for online participation that I'm thinking right now is that, and maybe it doesn't even need to be said, that the expectation online is the same as if you were in person, but and it's not like we have a lot of issues with that, but you never know. All right. So I guess, is there any other input on this? All right. Well, I guess we'll send it back as is, and we'll see it again in October. All right. So, Community Engagement Committee. So, the purpose for the community engagement was to come up with ideas that essentially we can engage the community in board involvement, and everyone should have that. So did you get that? The recommendations that the committee came up with, and we'd be looking. Did anyone have any questions on this, by the way?
Have you guys ever done surveys before?
Nope.
Okay, so past experience, surveys are basically worthless, because I sat at the table looking at this today, and I asked the group that I was with, which was about 15, 20 people, and I said, if you were given this and this was sent out to you by your district, what would you do with it? I did not get one person to even say that they would burn pot. Surveys don't work. I mean, I'd like to think they do, but as a busy parent, when I was given surveys and stuff like that from the school, if I had time, maybe, but I didn't have time to fill them out. Even now, I would just kind of surveys we get for anything else through the mail. I really don't even pay attention to them. And I mean, you can try, you can always try, but I don't see that as being something that would work. I mean, try to get the results back from people's, what you even bring to the open house. You know how that works. You might get about 10, 15 people in response. Other than that, people just bring whatever and they don't send anything in.
I also think there are a lot of different survey options now, and they can compute and give you back information in a different way, where you're maybe asked 5 questions online, and they're much simpler to fill out and submit. And I think they personally can be helpful.
Oh, I don't say they couldn't be helpful, but people actually got to do it. And I don't, even the people that I was with, they'll look at it like, yeah, whatever, but they won't actually submit it.
Even if it's online.
That would be the closest you could do, because they could sit there on the flex on the phone if that's something that they would do, but to send that in the mail or anything, I don't foresee it being something.
I can't imagine doing them
Yeah.
like via mail.
I'm not
I
sure
think
how
they
it was
would
gonna be done.
online.
Online, you might get more response, but how many people are you gonna send it to online? It'd be people only that are getting into the community already because they're paying attention to it, and you're trying to reach the ones that are not. And that's what I'm assuming, you're trying to get those people that are not part of the community and not part of the in-school thing, you're trying to get, honestly, people, I don't have any kids in the school system. You'd wanna hit me, and you send this in the mail, and I'm sorry,
So I think that's a great point, but I think you have ways like the town newsletters where you can put a link in there and you click on it like a live link or the.
but you gotta in a chain of possibility to get them to look at it, to do
Right.
it, and that's where it's gonna be the hard
Yeah.
part.
I agree by mail now, that is a tough sell, but I certainly, the Google survey, yes. It's been a much way of getting more information out. It's not perfect, but it's certainly a good tool, so.
So yeah, and that's the first point of this is the social media aspect. So, and that doesn't apply to, just specifically. There's other places we talked about, and just because it's not listed on here, we also talked about select board. I know there's town resources as well, or sites, I should say. Expanding to those. The point is to help reach those people who aren't directly associated with the school. And we spent a lot of time talking about that and a lot of time working on the survey because we knew it was going to take some time to figure that out. And, hit or miss. Right now where we're, starting our budget stuff, would be the time to at least try and see what we can come up with. And so these are setting aside from the surveys. The survey is just one of the things that we came up with. And but these are three things that the point is to start this community engagement process. It is a lot. It's going to be a lot of experimenting, in my opinion, and but I think it is important. So that was I'm sorry, that was my point. So when we developed the committee, it was tasked with coming up with recommendations and ideas for community engagement and to create it. And this is what we came up with.
I mean, our intention on the committee was to make this as easily accessible as possible. Looking at having this online, keeping the question simple. I agree with you. Somebody hits you with a 20-question survey, you're not going to take it. If it's something that you've got an interest in because you're a taxpayer in our district and it's simple and you have a chance to say your piece, I think we're more likely to get answers. Are we going to get everybody? Absolutely not. But we need to get in touch with as many people as we possibly can. And that means trying this and trying different ways to do it.
So I'm curious, Middletown Springs is having an ESSA meeting sometime this month. I mean, I've been in restaurants last week where they have the QR code. Is there a way to connect a QR code to the survey so that when they're at the ESSA,
Yes.
come through and.
Yes, the short answer is yes.
Yeah, so there you go. I think you just have to get creative and.
So like you,
Yes.
On the Google survey.
If you're going to mail out a little postcard with that QR code on it.
yeah. So mail,
Whatnot,
Yeah.
we can put that
Yeah.
on there.
Yep, could be.
mail is really expensive. So I would not support at this point in our strategy game anything that costs money. So putting a survey link out on Front Porch Forum, putting it on the community Facebook pages of both of our communities, putting things in our local stores with a QR code and sending it home and Friday notices for both schools is going to hit a huge swath of the community. And then at that point, I would think you would see like what is the response? Should we shift it? Do we need to send something to every address in town? I feel like spending money on a mailing would be like way down the list of things, because we are all recognizing, like, if I get something in the mail, it's going to sit in my car for a week, and then I might fill out the survey when I have a free but I think there's a lot of free or very, very low cost things that you could do first, utilizing existing resources. Actually, the one question I had was about timeline, just thinking that there is a like community gathering thing in Middletown this weekend, right? Like, are we thinking we're ready to do that for the yard sale on the green and the community thing at the Mineral Springs this weekend? Or are we thinking winter and fall for when we're going to have board members be present at community events?
So that's on here as well, number 3. So I would say that it doesn't necessarily apply to school activities as well. I mean, I think we can determine how that would be approached too. I would say that it could be something that the committee could figure out. But when we talk about attending some of these events, who is going and when, I think those are things we need to figure out, because and that could be a simple phone call, text message, especially if we know that these things are coming up, like open house, for example. That might be a good opportunity to come, introduce, say, this is who I am, and then a QR code would be great. So one of the things though that we did run into as an issue is that by making this survey, for example, publicly accessible, is you don't know anyone has access to it. So I mean, you could get people who don't live here, but it's just a hypothetical. So I'd say that. So I'm not sure. We kind of didn't settle on. At first, it was, well, at least the parents and community-specific sites. I think Front Porch Forum might be too broad, but that's just my thought. Other forms of communication for like Front Porch Forum, definitely. As we talked about. Posting agendas, for all of our meetings. That's just it, agenda, and then it announces to the communities that, this is going on. And it could just be a reminder as well. Amanda?
I was just going to add, I know we didn't include it on that sheet there, but we had also kind of talked about just putting up one basic piece of paper that one of us could print at like the post office or both town halls or maybe both country stores, just saying, hey, Wells Springs has this committee. We meet X number, at this time on this day every month. Feel free to join us. And not to change it, so it wouldn't be, a constantly changing thing. But that was another thing that we had discussed, just to get people to come to our meetings as well on top of the survey, internet, that whole piece. We had kind of thought about hanging something up locally at just a couple of places to invite people to meetings for those that may not be online or Front Porch Forum.
Yep. And I think the first part, and I think it's the most critical and important part, is the social media aspect of this. As we talked about, how to post to social media, private or personal accounts would not be ideal for a public board for anyone. So the idea was that social media accounts would be created with a name such as like Wells Springs Unified Union School District, and been working on finding out if that's something that could be created and managed by central office, and access could be given, for example, and so that way, if, for example, we post, let's say our annual meeting to Front Porch Forum, it would be coming from, the Unified Union School District, and not like a board member or even the chair or something like that. It would be so. And then the more technical stuff, like Facebook. And I talked with Chris, and it'd be important to have like public comments disabled, so that way we're not necessarily engaging. It's just there for information. It's again an experiment at best. So, but we will.
Are there other districts that have done this, and can we steal shamelessly from the lessons they learned?
There is, and I saw, and I can't remember the name of the district. The district is here in Vermont, and they use social media a lot, and they used it. And I wish I remember the name of the district, but that's where honestly, that's where I got the idea from. I'm just like, whoa, they're doing this, like, and how successful it is. From what I understand, when they would, go to the school and show an update of a project that they had. It was like some sort of construction project. They had a lot of public interest on it, and I don't think at this point we're going to be showing up, Facebook Living stuff, but but like my point is, there are districts out there, and I can't remember the name of the district.
So the use of social media, it's pretty common for schools and districts to use. It just depends on what you want to use it for. And my only concern with central office management, that is, as we have, Shannon, Greg, other, they are SU employees, and so therefore we just have to make sure that we're not just tying them up for Wellspring's position, specific duties. And so if we're doing that for Wellsprings, we have to do it for Corey Valley, for Rutland Town, for Ira as well, and we just make sure that we just understand their duties as well. So we have to take a look at the frequency and the scope of what the expectation is. But
yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and that's why when you and I talked last week, I mentioned that it would be if the central office, by managing it, would just basically create it and just grant access. So this is a board thing. This is ultimately, I'm not thinking in terms of, can you post this? Can you post that? Can you do this to central office? My thought in having it managed by central office would be that, let's say I'm not elected anymore, and so if the board or someone on the board were to create a GRCSU account, and then all of a sudden they're no longer a board member, how does that work? So in terms of having it managed by central office, you just create it, give the board access, and currently as it stands, typically the chair of the board is the one who addresses the public, and so my thought would be that whomever the chair is would authorize any post that would be posted on Facebook, anything. And that means it's just one person responsible. So as time goes on, and should this work out, it can just be transferred from one chair to the other, and it really should have little involvement from central office.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if I laid that out
Eric, did you see Heather's hand up there?
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Public comment.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
I
But,
mean, not
it's-
a Wells Springs thing, but I would really appreciate a more robust Gerksu Facebook presence of like, school is canceled, school is delayed. For work, I follow a bunch of other school districts that I work with, and like the understanding is that I would check their Facebook page before I went to the school in the morning. That was helpful as a community member. I found that helpful. But having been part of other boards where we've maintained Facebook pages, it's terrible and awful. To do that as a board member, doing it part-time, like you really need somebody who's committed to do it. So honestly, I would shy away from the Facebook of it all, and stick to directing people to the Gerksu and our websites, the school-based websites, where we can, I think continuously reminding people through wherever we post it and QR codes saying go to the website rather than trying to maintain Facebook posts, because then you have to get people to follow your page, or do you post it on existing pages, and then do you have permission from the administrators of those pages to post this type of material? It gets into a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily think about it until you're in it. And just given the capacity of this group to hold a lot of stuff, I don't know.
That's a good point. It is a lot of work.
Right. And the institutional knowledge, your instinct is spot on with like board members rotate and who holds the login to the Facebook account is an important consideration, but also who makes sure the chat feature is off and who makes sure that people don't get into a fight on it's just a lot of stuff that I feel like that might be a step 2 or 3 of rolling this out, and maybe we want to start smaller.
I can suggest a way you can start small and start immediately, but you guys are working on the social part of it, then old school, shy away from the computers, get out there on public things. Like I said, Middletown has some really nice stuff going on this weekend. A few board members, get out your butts, go and shake hands and meet people. It's the fastest way, and it gets you out there and you can talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
This stuff has got all your social media stuff has got a lot of what ifs, who can get into it, who's going to be responsible for this. When you get out there and talk to the people, you're responsible for yourself out there, and you're representing a community. You're going to, point of it is find out what they're thinking, talk to them. Human contact is a wonderful thing.
I think that's beneficial, but I think social is also important. I think we should cast a wide net. And, get feedback, because our budget, didn't barely passed, so we want to know why.
But by the time you get this set up, the budget's going to be already prepared. You need to know now. And Middletown does. What is this community campfire thing? What is that? Anybody have any idea what that is? I see that out there today when I came home.
Yeah, I think that's run by the church.
Okay. That's just community members go sit by a campfire and chat and tell stories. Is that it? Or what is it? Anybody? Kara, you know? No?
Amanda?
No, sorry.
No, I was going to say that you had your hand up.
Anybody knows what that is?
I was just going to ask, when you were mentioning, not making our own Facebook page because it has all sorts of bad things that come along with it, and that does make sense. Would you say that it would be inappropriate for us to then share this on, share what we have to say on the Wells Facebook page and the Middletown Facebook page that are already created for those families, at least in school? That doesn't reach the families that don't have students in school, but that could at least reach families of students easier until we find a better way to reach out.
Are those pages run by the schools? Like, does Middletown have a Facebook page? Because I'm not on it.
The town does.
I guess I don't know if Middletown does, but I know that Wells does, and like you can't just comment on it, right? Like Mackenzie and whoever else, they oversee what comments are made, and then the comments have to be approved to be posted. But we could at least put out there like, hey, we sent this survey link, here's the link, or, you know, hey, we have a meeting on this day, join us, this is what we're going to be talking about. Or maybe if we put it on the schools pages, and I guess, Rick, does Middletown have a page?
We do not.
No, there is a page. It's Middletown Springs Happenings, I believe.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's not through the school.
No, it's not. So
maybe some investigating about what pages exist and who is the administrator for them might be.
Sorry, girl.
Yeah, I mean, I was petering out because I think there are a couple of different pages that exist in Middletown, but I follow them, but I don't know if I've ever dived deep into who is the administrator of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's a Facebook page and if it's a public page, you can post, and you know, if it needs approval, you know, whoever's going to approve it would look at it and say yes or no. But in terms of the social media stuff, the main idea is just to get the information out there. And even if it's starting out as simple as agendas, you know, so be it. Even if, you know, 20 people are following, it's a start. And I understand there's a lot that could come with it. No one ever said it was easy, but.
And good job to the engagement committee. I don't want people to feel like I'm criticizing the obvious effort that you put into this. So good job. Thank you for doing this.
No, I think this is great, Cara. I think it's important. That's why we are bringing stuff back to the board, right? Because we need, you know, the more thoughts we get, the better we are. So thank you for sharing your info with us. I guess is where I'm coming from.
And at one point, I just wanted to clarify of like, when we're talking about a survey, are we talking about all of both communities or just folks who have kids in the schools?
Both
like,
communities.
Both. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Everyone, that's an interesting problem. The easiest ones to get are going to be the families that we have. The hard ones are going to be people that don't have school, but who pay taxes and who vote on our budget. And
yep.
We want to talk to them all. Oh, just a quick thought. Another place we could put in maybe our community engagement schedule is the Middletown Springs Town Newsletter. Comes out monthly.
Yeah.
It's put together by the librarian. Does Wells have something like that?
Yeah.
At least we could get our schedule in there.
And it can go on our websites. We're going to put a board piece on our website introducing all the board members, and so we can add things like that in there.
Well, I noticed the agenda was emailed out to all parents for tonight's meeting for Wells Village.
The board agenda was?
Yeah, the Wells Springs agenda was emailed out. Yeah, that's new. Never seen that happen. But that's
not
good.
a bad idea.
No.
Yeah.
You know, so we have these recommendations, and essentially, the committee itself was just tasked with, coming up with recommendations, and the committee itself really can't go and do all this stuff on its own. to a certain extent. I mean, we did a lot of talking on ideas that may or may not work, but so we'd be looking at board approval and or even if amending these these are our recommendations. However, the board feels that there's a better way to take on some of these recommendations. But that's where we're at.
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand, but one thing that Sue said is timing. Given that we're pushing up ahead the budget development, if we wanted to get some sort of community feedback about budgets, that survey should go out soon.
So if we get approval for this, and that's why I put the survey in here, it's kind of like a screenshot. So, but in here, for review. But this is what would be going out, and this is something that could go out. I can share this with the administrators. It could go out as soon as tomorrow, probably, or I can send it out as soon as tomorrow. And my first thought would be that it could go out to families because the schools can send that out. And then we have other opportunities such as open house. And again, the social media aspect, I don't know how long that's going to take. It could be a matter of days, or I don't know.
I think it depends on which platform you're talking about for social media. Like a front porch forum post could be, within 48 hours, but setting up a Facebook page would have more details to it.
Yeah, I mean,
and Amanda's hand is up too.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Amanda. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. We've now gone a little off track, but my question was, for the open houses that we have discussed upcoming next week and the following week, I guess, right? Have we decided what board members are attending those? And if we have not, should we do that tonight before we leave?
For the open houses and stuff?
Yeah, I felt like, I thought that we had decided that we would be attending like open house or concerts or events that are definitely in the school. So if we have these events coming within the next week, should we decide tonight who's going and if they're bringing anything with them?
I would like to, but I think out of respect for time, I don't want that to kind of derail this.
I just worry that we don't have a lot of opportunities, right? Especially with like start back from COVID. So if we have an opportunity now, I just don't want to miss it because we might not have another one until Christmas.
Correct. No, that's a good point. So I think let's do this. Let's finish up the recommendations, and we can have a quick conversation on how the board would like to address that. Because if we sit here and try and schedule who's going to be what and where, I mean, we could that could take up a lot of time. Whereas an email would suffice. You could send out email too. Because that would be fine. All right. So any questions on the survey or these recommendations as far as amending or proceeding with these?
I would just further on what Cara said about setting it out sooner than later. So
I agree.
So we
And
both weekly newsletters, could they go out as links from the board in our newsletters on Friday?
That would be where a QR code would be helpful so that people don't have to retype a link. And the survey is created already, right?
Yeah. Yep. I created it in Google, and yeah. So what you see in here is just kind of like a screenshot of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 4 emails with board materials, so I'll find it eventually. But
I think it's in the last one that says additional updated materials or whatever, the most recent one.
okay. Are you looking for a motion
Yes.
at this point? Okay. I'll make the motion to accept the Community Engagement Committee's plan as presented. Discuss.
What's so funny? All right. Is there any other discussion? No discussion on the recommendations at all. Okay. So I mean, this is a continuous work. So it's something that I think the board should definitely know what's going on, and I think at some point it would be good to at some having these conversations, at the board level. I think a lot of the committee's work and just drafting this is very helpful. When that's going to happen, I'm not sure, but I do think that anything else we do, should definitely be the full board. So, all right. So if no one has any other questions or comments on this, all those in favor of accepting these recommendations, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions, Sue?
No,
Okay. So you were a yay or a nay?
yeehaw.
All right, motion carries unanimous. Thank you. All right. So new business. So supervisor union update. Okay. I will share this. Just one second.
And out of respect for your time, this was shared on August 24th at the GRSSU board meeting. A lot of this information also was emailed out to all families last week. All board members should have received a copy of the letter as well as the report as well. So it's just kind of, Eric asked me to bring this forward tonight just to kind of review here. But last year, as many of you are well aware, we engaged in we began the first step of a two-step process. And the first step was to create a GRCSU portrait of graduates. In order to do that, we did reach out to a variety of school board members, administrators, staff members, excuse me, students, parents, and community members to comprise what was called the portrait design team. And so we had close to initially 70 some individuals. By the end of it was whittled down to 50, the low 50s for a variety of reasons. People just couldn't commit to all the meetings. People just they shared their input and then kind of their enthusiasm died out. But that typically will happen when you engage in these longer range plans. That's people are there at the beginning, but they kind of fade away as we go through once they feel their voice is heard. The purpose of this really was to develop what was called an SU-wide consensus as to what is important for our students throughout their educational careers. And so when we looked at this portrait, just kind of move through. One of the things you'll see when you look at this, thanks, is there is no mention of academics on here. That's there, the 5 competencies that will comprise what we believe that when our students leave, matriculate through and graduate, that they'll have these competencies, these values instilled in them. Academics is meant as basically just it's something which it's understood. We are going to be focused on academics every year. That's just a part of what we do here at school. I know that this board has discussed the idea about student preparedness, and this is something which is a part of this portrait. But what it really tries to do is really focus on educating the whole child. So the academics is there, but we're also looking at the other aspects, whether it be social, emotional, pieces that's really create this well-rounded individual as they leave here. The next graphic, like I said, I'm moving this quickly just out of respect for your time, but does show kind of this merge of the skills and mindsets, the rigorous content to engage what's called deeper learning. And that is our goal, is that in each of our classrooms here within the SU, is that our students will engage in this deeper learning that will prepare them for whichever pathway they choose. I know that there was a discussion in another one of our boards around the concept and mindset of education. Well, if a student is not going to college or they're moving right into a career technical force, do we really need to focus heavily on academics for that individual? And it said, our goal is that all students, regardless of pathways, receive a high quality education because we're really trying to create productive members of our societies. We want to create individuals who are can critically think for themselves, can take in this a wide variety of facts and information and really kind of put that all together and formulate their own opinions and thoughts and really be, like I said, mindful thinkers in society. That's important for us. So regardless if a student moves right into a career path or is moving into a post-secondary or a college path, there's the same level of expectations, high set of standards for those individuals. And it does go back to that notion of preparedness for all of our students. Here's just a brief overview of the 4 meeting dates. Instead, you can see here that I'll move into the next slide, which gives you a better understanding where during the first meeting, we kind of cast a wide net. We talked about the variety of landscape shifts. I think one of the things that we see is that we're preparing students for a lot of careers and jobs that don't exist. So we look at, we have students maybe in the 2nd grade or 3rd grade, the career paths, the career opportunities that may exist for those individuals are not quite out there yet. So we really have to be kind of forward thinking and visionary and proactive and really looking at what we're really preparing our students for, what our kids for. So we're taking a look at the landscape shifts and how things have changed over the past 15, 20 years. We then whittled down to hopes, dreams, aspirations, which all community members take a look at. What do they hope for? Or what do they want for their child? Or we ask the students what do they want for themselves. Then we really kind of distilled all that information, and we came up with these 5 competencies, which there's the landscape shift, so I'm not going to go through that, but just it's a workforce, pace of change, global, the human interaction, which all led us to these 5 competency selections. And these are in no specific order outside of alphabetical, but adaptability, critical thinking, communication, empathy, and responsibility. And this was, like I said, comprised of input from all members of the community. The responsibility actually was the number one choice of the students that were surveyed. And we did use a survey, and it was done through the computer. We did actually have good participation in that student survey. But the responsibility was the overwhelming number one choice for our students. So then we took this, and the next step was to put this into a visual. And you see here, this is the visual that everyone is seeing. They have access to. The first page is just, like I said, lists our communities and has the 5 competencies. And then the second page, kind of breaks down more specifically what adaptability is. I know that there has been some responses from people who've, shared their thoughts on the visual. I know the visual can be changed. Like I said, we're more concerned about the words and the attributes and traits that were selected for our students. And they said this was a culmination of a year's worth of work, which will set us up for the second step, was strategic planning. Any questions on this before I move on to the next? So as I said, the next step then is to take this portrait and, because there's a lot of gray area with this. There are a lot of great ideas, but I think the question that a lot of people ask is, okay, well, what does that look like? Well, what are we going to do? How does that manifest itself in our classrooms or our schools? That is where the strategic plan comes in. So the strategic plan will be developed over the course of this year. It's once again a collaboration of all stakeholders. So we are going to be inviting community members, board members, staff, administrators, students to be a part of this. There is no limit on the number of individuals that can be involved in this. So anybody who wants to be a part of this, be great. We'd love to see more board members be a part of this. We will be shifting from a virtual to an in-person. We feel that there were limitations with the virtual just because of the interactions with each other. But so we look at through these meetings, the in-person will be held at West Rutland School, which is a more centrally located facility. We know that some individuals may not be able to participate for a variety of reasons, but we'll have other opportunities for them to provide input on this. And this is going to apply a systems-based approach. And what this basically means is it's going to be something which, at the end of this, we want this to be something that permeates all aspects of our educational system. That as boards, we embrace the plan, we embrace the portrait of graduates, that when you walk into a school, you can sense and feel what this looks like. It's not just something which, we'll say 2 or 3 activities, or every Friday we'll have our portrait day. It is something which is going to be part of everything we do as we look to hire new staff. We look at the portrait strategic plan in place. We look at programs, curriculum. It all have these these things in mind. So there will be the systems-based approach to this. Our goal then would be in April or May, depending on the timing. We would then present a 3 to 5 year plan for review approval to the GRSSU board. We do say 3 to 5 years because that will be something which the design team will discuss and talk about their pros and cons to both in terms of whether or not we want to go a shorter 3-year plan or a 5-year plan. But that would be something which we could discuss. This is just more of a tell for kids. This is the group that we'll be working with and have been working with. Just gives a bit of an overview. Like I said, we've seen this before. And then this just talks about the guiding tenets. Through this plan, we do have a vision and a mission currently in place, but at the end of this process, we will be as an SU and local boards taking a look at our current vision, mission, and looking to see if that accurately reflects the direction we're heading. If we need to update our vision and our mission. We talk about core values, competencies. We already have those established, but we are looking at the goals in terms of where we're at, where we want to be in 5 years, and how we're going to get there. And then that's where the campaigns and initiatives. So it will be these actionable steps that we will develop. And here is the timeline. September, which we're currently in, we'll be collecting data and insights. We'll be sending out information to all stakeholders, as well as to asking for volunteers to participate. October 3rd will be our first meeting. November 7th, our second meeting. January will be the core writing team, which the design team will not be meeting, but the next meeting for the design team will be February 3rd. And then if necessary, there'll be a meeting April 4th. If not, we will then present to the board in April. All right. That in a nutshell is the Portrait Graduate Strategic Plan process that's coming up. So, like I said before, we are looking for anybody's interested to be a part of this. I know people have strong feelings, but like I said, we want a wide variety of perspectives. I think, it's important for us to really accurately reflect the needs of our communities as we develop this plan. So, we know that there are people who have strong opinions but don't be a part of this and then will complain about it after the fact. And I think it's one where, I'd rather have the complaints while we're doing it and then we can resolve that and move forward. Then that's our ultimate goal, is to have everybody, regardless of their opinions, to be part of it. And, we develop a plan that really reflects all of our needs moving forward. Thanks.
Any questions? Thank you for presenting that. I'll just say that the Portrait of a Graduate was a pretty interesting experience. I participated in that, and I'll say that it was all virtual, but it was good to see a lot of different people from a lot of the communities within the supervisory union, and we even see some students participate as well. So hopefully the strategic plan part of it will be the same. Okay, so if there's no other questions on that, we'll move on to the VSBIT voting member / proxy.
Eric, when we talk about it, you want to talk about it?
If you could talk about it,
Sure.
because I think I'll screw it up.
Yes, I may screw it up too. But so each year at the VSA VSBA annual meeting, which is October 20th to 21st, VSBIT holds their annual meeting as well. So what needs to occur is that each district will send a representative to either vote in person, or if the district is not going to have a vote in person, then they'll have to make a motion to vote by proxy. And so there is an SU representative, which Eric is taking hold, but there are also local district representatives, which so what the board needs to do tonight is to discuss whether or not they want to have an in-person representative, if someone is willing to attend. If no one is able to make it, then the board would need to make a motion to vote by proxy. And then there's a form which Eric and I will have to sign off on, and then we will submit to VSBIT for this.
Any questions on that? I would imagine that, well, first, is anyone attending the?
Where is this VSBIT? Is it the one they have up on?
It's at Lake Maury.
Is it Lake Maury? 2 full days at Lake Maury, right?
Some people stay overnight, yes.
Yeah.
So there is an opportunity for some people to stay overnight, but like I said, I will be attending just day to day. I'm not staying overnight.
Yeah, and I think most it's split into 2 days, but I think a lot of the workshops and the keynote speakers on Thursday, and so it's I don't know what day is this.
VSBIT is Thursday. They move at 9 o'clock. Right, as Eric said, Thursday is where the meat of the presentations and work are. Friday is a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Look at the agenda.
Okay. And as Chris said, I'll be attending, and I'll be doing the voting for the GRCSU. So doesn't matter who does it; anyone can do it. If you're not attending, the board would need to decide if they're going to vote proxy. So that's pretty much it.
I mean, if nobody's going, then I would make the motion that Eric be our proxy.
Well, Eric would be your voting member, not your proxy.
Oh,
So we make a motion that Eric be the voting member.
that Eric be our voting member.
Okay. Did you make
Yes,
that
please.
motion? All right.
Have you ever been to one before?
Yes. Once in 2019. It was a good experience.
It is.
Yeah, the workshop they had was on community engagement.
Total non sequitur, but if Lake Maury is serving the lemon cake, eat the lemon cake. Totally worth it. Just saying.
All right. Any other discussion on this? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. All right. Move on to policy. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 second read policies. These policies were first reads back in June. We'd be looking for a motion to adopt F17, F19, F20, F25, G6, and H3.
H4 also?
Which one?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I take that back. There's 7. Good catch. H4 as well.
I'll make a motion that we approve the second read policies.
Okay. Any discussion on these policies?
Yeah. And I just have to read this because it's gonna be an issue. The standard entry age kindergarten. Is there any possible testing that can be done for a child when it's 2 days short?
So the
I
board,
get the reason because I did this a long time ago.
so the
but-
board has so what would happen is I would deny that, like, 2 days, but then they could appeal before the board could then make the decision as to whether or not they would like to allow that individual in that situation.
Is that the kindergarten age policy you're talking about?
Yeah, so I think, and I understand the concern. I think where we look at this, we've dealt with this in other districts as well, and I understand that there are students who just missed the cutoff, and I think when we were working with our lawyers and legal team on this, one thing they discussed was no matter where do you move that date, there's still going to be someone who's going to miss that cutoff. So we move back October 1st.
Oh,
There's still going to miss someone on
What are
that.
the cutoff dates for Wells? What are the dates?
September 1.
September 1?
Right.
See, because that really just proves, I'm just thinking my grandchildren, they are literally Irish twins. And that's going to put them both in the same grade. It's going to put one, they're both going to be 5 at the same time in the same grade. And she doesn't want that. That's going to put one way behind when they're in at age 6. But they're capable of doing it now. So
I'll just reiterate what Chris said. We talked about this in the committee. It was a huge discussion too, because anywhere you move that date, there's.
well, it's not moving the date. The question is, can the child be tested? And if they pass something that would, a test that comes up that, wow, this kid's really, to hold them back is going to be stupid, but to not put them in there is going to be stupid too. So, the question is that one's a male and one's a female, and they are both going to be age 5 at the same time, and he'll be turning 6, and it's the way it's going to come out that they're both going to be in the same grade. And that is not something that I want to see either one of those kids in the same grade, because he should be defined older, but he's going to be capable of doing that. And I don't know, there's no testing or anything that you do. Nothing. So she literally has to keep one kid back out of the school, to keep him out of different grades.
Currently, yes.
Sucks.
So I do also note that this new policy does also discuss the fact that there would be the appeal process. It does say that no appeals will be considered as well. So there are old policy allowed for an appeal. This policy states no appeals. This policy will be considered to eliminate that discussion of 1 day, 1 week. Where do we draw the line?
But your point about testing, is that something that is even done for elementary, or is this just an idea that you have?
Well, I know they do testing to bring kids into the triple program. When my girls were doing that, you couldn't get into it unless you were tested. And there were parents that wanted to get their kids into it, but they didn't test where they did this, so the kids were eliminated. Well, if the kids were tested for that, why can't they be tested for kindergarten? And I don't see what the difference would that be. Because literally my granddaughter is going to be 7 years old when she starts kindergarten, or starts kindergarten, because they're going to both be the same. She's going to be 6 and he'll be 7, and it's not.
Yeah, I want to say, and I don't know, but that accepting a student,
I mean,
based off of, or admitting a student based off of a test might, I don't know, there might be some statutory restrictions behind that. Just my thought behind it. I don't know. Maybe there's a state board rule or something, but.
I mean, the state board rule is basically our policy, but the difference is it gives you a window that you can, you can choose what that date is based on within that window.
Yeah. No, that would have been, a good discussion back in June. Okay. So we have a motion. Amanda?
I'm sorry. Now that we were discussing this, I just kind of had a question about that policy as well. And I'm not sure, I don't see that it's covered in there. So what if, say, we have a student that comes from Granville, right? And their Granville's cutoff is different. So they come to us in 2nd grade, but Vermont would only be in 1st grade. Do they attend 2nd grade because they already did the other 2 in another state? Or do they continue to follow our age group? I don't think we ever discussed, I just thought of it now. I don't think we ever discussed it.
Well, if they move to Vermont, then they would follow whatever policies we have in place.
Well, but so you're saying if the student was, say, a 2nd grader, but is a year younger because of they started earlier, would we place them in?
Right, like would they have to do second?
They'd be placed in their current grade. So if they were, say they were in 2nd grade, they would move into 3rd grade, or if they came mid-year, they would move right to the 2nd grade classroom.
I think what she's trying to say.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about that, and since we're so close to New York, I wasn't sure, because maybe that might happen in kindergarten, right? We have someone that starts in Granville and moves to Wells, and their kid is 5 instead of 6 or something. I just didn't know if we had thought about any of that and had any input on it.
Kindergarten class again, because they make the cutoff in New York to go into 1st grade. They move to Vermont. Do they have to repeat a kindergarten for a 3rd year or 2nd year? Because they don't make the cutoff time that you have.
So for kindergarten, if let's say that they start off kindergarten in Granville, but they try to enroll our kindergarten here, they would not meet our cutoff. So
they don't meet the cutoff, so they repeat kindergarten again.
If they've completed kindergarten, they move into 1st grade.
Not according if their age does not. If they do kindergarten because say New York has early, they can do kindergarten at 4 or whatever, and the dates for their birthday come in and they can't do kindergarten because their birthday doesn't fall in the right spot. So do they have to do kindergarten in New York State 1 year and then your kid didn't make the cutoff time, they can't go to 1st grade. Where if they stayed in New York, they'd go to 1st grade. And
so if they've completed kindergarten in New York, they would move into our 1st grade classroom here. Yes.
No matter what their age would be.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was my question. I guess I should have used kindergarten instead. Would we expect them to complete a grade based on their age if they'd completed it in a state where they were accepted younger? So.
Is kindergarten compulsory?
Yes.
It is now? Okay.
Okay. All those in favor of adopting these 7 policies, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Yes, I will close the kindergarten one.
Okay. So we have. All right. So here's what we'll do. Okay. right. So motion carries. We have many first read policies, so I hope everyone took the time to read them. And, I just want to just remind everyone that, when you get these first read policies, if you haven't seen them before, please take the time to look through them. So that way they can come back to policy committee and they're well vetted, and we're not, wanting changes when they're looking to be adopted. So, and there's quite a few here. I don't think there was any real significant changes, if any, to these policies. Oh man, she didn't put it in here, did she? The report, the committee report. Yeah. No. All right. So, any questions on these policies?
Should G4 and G5, selection of instructional materials and selection of library materials, should they refer to each other?
I would say no. I believe they are completely different. And let's see if I can find it here, because I think there was a revision to one of those.
It's G4 is a revision.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My only thought was if someone has an issue with instructional materials, if they have a hold in this, but they're really concerned with the library material, we just say C G4 and vice versa. That's all.
Okay. Well, I like that.
Because there's going to be someone who's doing a school project and they got their material from the library, even though it's an English class assignment, language arts. Someone's got an issue with it.
Okay. Yeah, so I think the library materials just applies to the library collection. I think instructional materials applies to.
So I'd say we know that, but
Right.
someone from the outside, a parent has got an issue.
I think in that particular case, there might be both policies may apply. Because we're looking at, instructional material and library material, because that's being used for instruction, as well as it's in our library, someone may look at those policies.
Just a thought, another game changer. that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah. No,
That's
that
something we
makes,
can talk.
yeah, makes sense. All right. So did you have suggestions for these, or are you just pointing out that one?
Maybe just a statement at the end of each policy section for, instructional materials. Last sentence in policy or second paragraph would say for issues with library materials, see policy G4. Something as simple as that.
Okay.
That's all.
So would okay, all right. No, I get what you're saying. All right. So no, we can send that back with those suggestions. Okay. Any other discussion on the first read policies? All right, cool. We have no executive session. Next meeting, October 5th. And as George said earlier, possibly a facility committee meeting before. But that would go out to, that agenda would be sent out if we did. So, is there any other lawful business?
There is a community lawn sale Saturday, which I will be at. Is there any interest in having me wear a little name tag saying I am with the board? And again, I don't represent you. I'm not going to answer any questions, or is that something we want to hold off on?
That's a good question.
I think the open houses are going to be along those same lines, but I think I would prioritize them for getting board members to sign up. Because there's a ton of community stuff like in Middletown this weekend. There's the community yard sales, and then there's the community gathering at the Mineral Springs, and then there's the community campfire all happening. Apparently we all picked this weekend to gather. So there's a lot of communitying for one weekend potentially, and if you have somebody at one event but not another, perception matters. But I think having people sign up for the open houses would be important.
I agree, but I do think that might be
An email after the fact.
a discussion that we could have at like the next board meeting on how we would like to address. As Amanda said earlier, like who's going to do what and where. It would be good just to have that discussion at the board level. That's kind of my thought on that.
Is there any problem with just being a community member, going to that and
No.
talking to people?
Not at all.
I mean, I can't believe you guys are gonna restrict someone from just showing up at that.
No one's restricting anyone.
Okay, so I plan on being there.
It's who, I'd like to be able to mention that we're formulating surveys. We're doing community outreach. That's all I would even talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
And maybe get some feedback.
That's the tricky thing. In the board capacity, that's where it gets kind of convoluted. If, by all means, anyone can go anywhere and you can talk about the community engagement. You can, anyone can do that, but, that's where I think we need to sit down and figure out how the community engagement piece is going to work in board involvement and participation. I go to community stuff and there's no problem with that. So, by all means, like I said, wearing a name tag.
Maybe I'll have a little list of meetings coming
Yeah.
up, like you're invited,
All right. Well, again, we can have a further conversation on that.
Okay.
So.
Fair enough.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn at 8:15?
Amanda had her hand up.
Amanda, did you have a?
No, I'm sorry. I agree. I agree that we should have an email and we should have a deeper conversation on this, but I just worry that we don't have another meeting before open house.
Yeah.
Open house is the Monday after next week. We don't have another meeting before then. I would happily say I would go. However, I'm not going to be able to attend my own kids' open house because I'm away for a wedding that week. But maybe even if only like, hey, I'll go to Wells, I'll go to Middletown. Maybe we send that email right after the meeting tonight. I just worry that we have like 9 days and not a meeting before then.
Yeah, I think we can coordinate this via email. I can send out an email to everyone, and people can just respond to it. I think we can coordinate that way.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just, I feel like we put so much effort into putting ourselves out there and involving people, and this is what we want to do, and I just don't want to miss first chance. And unfortunately, I won't be here to help. So
Okay. No, good point. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you. All those in favor of adjourning at 8:17, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.